Hello and welcome to this episode of Tripology. I'm Alan and I'm here with the ever scandalous Adam.
Oh my goodness, Alan, how is everything, my friend?
Everything is good and I'm ready, really ready for this episode. We're sat here at the Tripology news desk and you've got an article for me to peruse.
I have. We've got some articles coming in. They're coming in thick and fast, but it's from a website called Wanderlust. Are you familiar with Wanderlust?
I'm familiar with Wanderlust, both in name and in concept. Wanderlust, of course, that often heard word written on the side of a hostel wall. Oh, we've all got a bit of the old Wanderlust, but it's also the name of a travel publication.
It is the name of a travel publication. I actually read Wanderlust many, many times, way back when I was trying to decide what it was I wanted to do in terms of a travel adventure. I would argue that it had some sway, mate. It really did.
Okay, you felt swayed by it, like a little poppy in the breeze.
Puppy in the Breeze. I was reading the magazine and I thought that some of the articles were compelling, unlike today's one.
Okay, so you've got an article that you found on Wanderlust that you thought, Alan's going to be perturbed by this article. Let's read it out on an episode of the old Tripology.
So what I want to do is set the scene, okay? The title of this article, it's really important that we keep reverting back to the title of this argument because it says 25 enriching travel experiences that will change your life.
Experiences that you can have whilst travelling that will quite literally change the fabric of your own life, and Wanderlust have listed them for us to read. How kind. Do go on.
So what I think we'll do, the way we're going to play this, mate, is that I will read out all 25. We'll touch on some more than others because a few of them we're likely to agree with.
Okay, let's go.
Number 1, travel alone.
Nice. I think it's a bold concept. I like it. Me and you both travel alone primarily, but of course we know from experience, even if you travel alone for months on end, you can count on sort of two hands how many days you actually spend alone. Oftentimes you spend a lot of time with people.
Yes, and that's not including the voices in your head either.
No, schizophrenia, of course, a very real thing whilst travelling. But I think that, travelling alone is good advice, maybe. I think it's always good to set off alone and maybe, see what happens as you go.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of noise around in the travel industry at the moment about how important it is to travel alone, but not just that. I mean, people that do travel alone, often content creators, people who are very well known on Instagram, they will start taking videos of themselves and then put little captions like, oh, it's so scary traveling on your own. And then it will be them having the best time of their life. I don't know how much use that is.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that people, different travel styles, Adam, different travel styles, but we do believe in stepping out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And sometimes for people that can involve stepping out alone into the world.
Completely. So I don't know whether it's fair to say this next one really, that it contradicts the previous one, but number 2 is travel with strangers, which I would argue is not traveling alone.
It's definitely not traveling alone. I think what Wanderlust means by that is first travel alone, and you will ultimately find yourself travelling with strangers. That's inevitable, as we've described. I would argue that neither of these pieces of advice in isolation have changed my life so far, but maybe if I'm sat in an office not travelling yet, they might be, unique pieces of information to my ears.
Yeah, and also, do you think there's some beautiful irony in that? Because when you travel with strangers, we know what it's like when you meet people that previously you had no idea of, and then you meet them and in a very short space of time, we're talking about 3-4 days, they become better friends than people that you've known back home for years.
That happens all the time, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? So they quickly go from stranger to becoming absolute bestie in next to no time at all.
Very true, very true. I'd recommend travelling alone and then travelling with strangers, actually. I think that's similar to how we travel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would argue the same. So number 3, I'm a bit confused by this title. We might have to dive in a little bit deeper. Take a self-propelled journey.
What does it mean, Adam? What do they go on to say? Take a self-propelled journey, i.e.
strap a fan to your back and get going, baby.
Yeah, how did you get from overland Israel to South Africa? Oh, it was self-propelled. What do they mean by it?
So it says, you experience a place differently when you travel more slowly. Travelling on foot, by bike or in a kayak, you see more, soak up more. Soaking up more in a kayak, it'd sink, wouldn't it? Wouldn't advise that.
Yeah, that kayak ain't going to float no more, guys. I think it's good advice, though, actually. I think that, I once saw a really interesting interview with Will Self where he described flying as the antithetical medium to walking, because walking you see stuff drawn out, it's long form, whereas a flight is ultimately like a cinematic jump cut with a long scene and a plane in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's a fair point, really fair point.
So
okay.
I do agree with that. I think I like the idea of travelling a bit slower, travelling on foot, by bike or a kayak.
Well, do you agree with this next point? So their advice, with that point in mind, is look into companies that transport your luggage while you undertake your adventure so you can travel lighter.
I mean, that's mad.
It's madness, isn't it?
It's mad to write that, because surely the big piece of life-changing travel advice they could have offered is travel lighter.
I would say the same.
Pack a smaller bag.
Yeah, you've already overpacked.
So what they've plumped for is pack as much as you want, but just
Hire
someone.
Yeah, hire a company to look after it for you.
Okay, well, I would add to their advice and say maybe don't take so much with you in the long run.
Like it. Firm piece of advice there. And then we've got number 4, go epic on your doorstep.
Okay, so we've descended now into just meme sentences. Yeah. Go epic whilst on your doorstep.
Yeah, and
they mean by that, presumably, have an amazing experience camping in your own backyard before you go and camp in outside Uluru or something.
Yeah, as opposed to, don't shit on your own doorstep. That's a very well-known colloquial phrase.
This is saying...
It's the opposite of that. It's
go and explore the UK thoroughly before travelling elsewhere.
Yes.
Okay.
Potentially. I mean, we're lucky because you've lived for a very long time and I do currently live in places that are worth exploring.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's true. I think that people who don't have the opportunity to travel, this is good advice for them, maybe.
Sure.
But I think that lots of people who think they don't have the opportunity to travel could carve out some opportunity to travel, and they'd be better served that, exposing themselves to other cultures, than they would just residing in their own place of birth.
Is it a regret of yours that you haven't seen more of the UK?
No.
Oh. It is of mine.
Is it?
It is, yeah. I wish I'd seen more. I haven't lived in the UK, I would say, really, for about 8 or 9 years now, and there are huge areas of the UK that I know are absolutely beautiful.
But why is it a regret, though? Because you could just do it later on.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I can't move.
The UK is a country
Checkmate.
Yeah, my king's been captured. Me there with rocks all over the chessboard. Why didn't you just go there later, man? Well, I think the thing is that surely the UK is like one country where your visa never expires. You can always go and travel there.
Yeah, okay. So what we're saying is just make plans to do it in the future.
Yeah. Do you want to travel from John O'Groats, Land's End? Do you want to do that walk with me, maybe?
I'd love to.
Let's do that.
How long is it going to take?
I think it takes about 6 months.
How long's the flight?
To the UK.
So number 6, love it. I've seen it. I love it. It's don't just visit. Engage.
Engage with what?
Engage with your surroundings.
Okay.
So volunteering opportunities are worldwide. Careful. But it pays to seek a cause you're passionate about, a project to get involved in. Alternatively, trek with Berbers in Morocco. You've been to Morocco.
I've been to Morocco. I didn't do no trekking with no Berbers, though. But I mean, it sounds interesting. Would have liked it if I did.
You've got to engage.
Yeah, I didn't get engaged to any of them either. I think that they're right. Sort of trying to connect with local people and local practices and local cultures is a good thing. I think that's definitely of value, maybe.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, just reading on the small print here is also just being aware of your surroundings. Yeah. I think, and changing your behaviour to accommodate those.
I think if you go travelling and you're not aware of your surroundings, you'll have a very limited experience indeed.
Yeah, there may even be some behaviour towards you that is, I don't know, less than ideal, perhaps.
Easy to pickpocket people who aren't aware of their surroundings, isn't it?
Zing.
That's all I'm going to say.
Number 7, join the crowd.
Okay, I'm seeing a picture here on this article. People who want to go and find this article for themselves can, of course, do so in the show notes for this episode. It's Diwali, isn't it? It's people in India having paint thrown all over them, and that looks exciting. What do they say? It
looks incredible. I think it's about getting stuck in, isn't it? It's about seeing what's out there for you, whether there are any local festivals or parties, maybe other events, local events run by sort of the community, and it's really important to get involved in those if you want to kind of feel of what it's like living in a place.
I agree. Yeah, I think that I actually really want to be in India during Diwali because I think that it's one of the most colourful, often seen on TV, bright, amazing visual festivals. And yeah, one of those things I've had in my mind for a long time. Oh, it'd be cool to be there. I don't know how true of a sense of India you might get during that time. So I think it'd be good to be in India for a little bit prior to that. I
Yeah.
don't think it's the best time to go to India. I think it might be nice to be in India during that festival, though.
A soft entry kind of
Soft
thing.
entry.
You just kind of are introduced to Indian customs and the culture there, and then all of a sudden,
3 weeks later, some paint gets thrown on you. Hey, it must be Holy Festival.
that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Number 8. God, this made me chuckle. Quick sip your water before I throw this one at you. It's eyeball an animal.
Eyeball it.
Eyeball it.
What does that mean?
Look at it in the eyes.
Look at it. Use your eyes to look at the animal in its eyes.
In its eyes. I think make some eye contact with an animal.
Okay, well, you did this and you once told me, I mean, you'll tell the story properly on the podcast, but I know for a fact that you once eyeballed a great ape and it nearly made you vomit
Yeah, and cry at the same time.
because of the awe of the experience.
I think it depends on the animal, really, doesn't it, and the situation. I could do that because the orangutan was sort of protected by a fence, even though it wasn't in an enclosure. There was a fence between me and it.
I don't think I knew that.
Well, it was above the level of the fence, the top of the fence.
Okay.
It definitely could have just climbed over the fence.
I always thought you were face to face with an orangutan, but actually you were face to fence with an orangutan.
Yeah, but it was the other side of the fence with its face.
All right.
And I felt comfortable being that far away from it, and I look at it right in the eyes, and it was really disturbing actually because they're so human-like.
Yeah.
Had that been a grizzly bear, maybe wouldn't have been hanging around.
So having eyeballed an animal, do you feel like it was a life-changing travel experience?
For me, it was.
Really?
That's a great piece of advice.
You think eyeballing animals is a great piece of advice? Well, I mean, I obviously worked a lot with animals during travelling. Often part of working with them would be looking them in the eyes.
Life-changing? Fair to say?
I mean, working with animals definitely been life-changing, yeah. I will say this, if you're going to go see gorillas in Rwanda
Yeah.
or Uganda, that's one of the places that this article recommends. It says, why not head to see the mountain gorillas in Rwanda and Uganda? One of the few animals, of course, that famously you can't look in the eyes. They'll even hand out glasses to you with eyes depicted on the glasses looking off to the side, because looking a gorilla in the eyes is seen as such an act of aggression. It can trigger a crazy, frantic fight. So definitely don't eyeball a gorilla. Look anywhere but the eyes of a gorilla.
Yeah, maybe that should be 8 and 9. Number 9, don't eyeball a gorilla.
I think so. I mean, it's been an exceptional bit of content, hasn't it, this article? I've enjoyed it. We're here at the Tripology News Desk. Everything's all vibrant and true and pure. We're reading there. Quick, someone I can hear sipping a coffee, the boss of the news station saying, let's go to commercial break. And I say, no, let's not go to commercial break because commercials are for the weak. Let's go to a meditation break right now and we'll see you after it. Yeah, and we're back on Tripology Podcast after that commercial break, that meditation break. We're here. Our conscious minds returned back into our egoic centres. Let's continue with an article on Wanderlust. It's entitled... What's it entitled? It's entitled Top Travel Experiences to Change Your Life, something like that.
It's pretty close, Alan. It's 25 enriching travel experiences that will change your life.
Okay, I'm preparing for my life to be changed. Adam, we just got through number 8, eyeball an animal, and we both agreed that it's simply one of the best things that you can do whilst travelling. What's number 9?
Number 9 is make a personal pilgrimage.
Okay, now pilgrimages, of course, typically associated with religions.
Religion. Yeah, I've done one as kind of a tourist attraction. I mean, look, we've all done the Camino de Santiago across northern Spain, haven't we?
I've not, but I've done the Carretera Austral in Chile.
Is that also as a result of a religious pilgrimage at its origin?
No, it's just a long road that you can hitchhike along.
Okay, well, that's fine now. I think that's fine. I think pilgrimage in this day and age doesn't necessarily have to be associated with a religion. I would highly recommend it. I think walking for a long time, days on end, is a really positive thing overall.
You agree with most of the points on this article.
I wrote it.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought we were maybe coming at it from a slightly oppositional perspective at first.
No, I didn't write it. I know what's to come, and I might have lured you into a false sense of security. I can promise you, I don't agree with all of them.
Okay, interesting. Well, so far, we're almost halfway through the episode, and I don't think there's a single one that we think's ridiculous. I think they're all, open to interpretation.
We might have titled the article slightly differently. I don't think all of those in isolation just sort of the title of each number isn't necessarily going to change your life. I think there's a lot of things to do with context and situation.
Right, you are. Yeah, I think almost some of them are like basics to backpacking.
Quite potentially, yeah. We've got learn something new in at number 10. So, what are you doing if you're not learning something when you're traveling, Alan?
Do they mean like learn a new skill, go to a cooking class, that sort of thing? Or do they mean like start a podcast, learn a musical instrument?
I think they're talking about learning an instrument, learning a language, learn how to cook, all these types of things that will, I guess, help shape your life into something that is more enriching.
They give cowboy skills in Montana as an example of something that you could learn.
That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
It would be. It's quite niche, isn't it?
It's very niche. And I don't think you wake up every day thinking, oh, I don't know how to lasso cattle.
Yeah, I don't.
Be quite a cool thing though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, of course, the good examples that we talked about previously, like scuba diving whilst travelling, I want to learn to sail, that sort of thing. I agree. Learn a skill, change your life.
And also, you can be governed by that. If you pick something that you're really interested in learning, something you want to add to your arsenal, just build the trip around that. Let it flow, my friend. Like learning Japanese. If I want to learn Japanese, what I believe is the right way and the way that I learn best, that's going to involve living in Japan.
I mean, I'll tell you for what, I once knew someone who travelled, and his main thing whilst he was travelling was he wanted to swing dance.
Right.
So he'd just swing dance his way around planet Earth. He was swing dancing everywhere. You could barely look at him but for see him swing dance somewhere, sometime in the near future. He was in Sweden swing dancing. He was in Bangkok swing dancing. He was all over the world swing dancing. And I thought, isn't that interesting that his central focal point is that he just wanted to be a better swing dancer, and his travel was built around that concept?
Well, and maybe taking influence from places that he'd been.
Yeah, he had such an eclectic swing dancing style by the time his travels was done.
I love that. I love that a lot. So number 11, it's funny. Number 11 is travel slowly, which is certainly an approach that we would encourage.
Definitely.
I feel
travel
like
as
all
slow
of
as you
these,
can.
they're different levels of magnitude and kind of severity, aren't they? Each one. I mean, travel slowly is quite generic, but I mean, it could be applied to all types of travel.
Yeah, wasn't travel slowly quite similar to a one that they previously did? Like travel. What was the previous one they did about walking places and not taking
pilgrimage
flights?
and also I mean, I think it could be shorter than 25, to be honest with you. But it's
25 is a long list. Are we going to get through them all?
Seek out a spiritual place. I mean, do you know what? I'm starting to see how this is unfolding, and I think what you could do is basically live this entire article in just one trip.
That's true, yeah. To Asia, probably. There's a lot of pilgrimages, religion, monasteries, lots of food, cooking classes.
Yeah,
if I was going to try and do this list, see some cool animals, I'd say Asia would be the continent to do it in.
Maybe they've tricked us. If you do just live out this entire article step by step, you might have a life-changing experience.
I mean, hold on. I'm just reading at the bottom there. This article's written by the Tourist Board of Thailand. That's not true. This is just a Wanderlust original piece. Let's pick up the pace, Adam. Let's quick fire a few because we've got to get to 25.
Seek out a spiritual place in at number 12. Then we've got at number 13, go on a massive journey. I mean, they're milking it, aren't they?
Go on a massive journey. That's part of the travel wanderlust.
Go far from anywhere.
I mean, so go on a journey to a faraway place.
Travel creatively. I mean, maybe that does incorporate a podcast.
Yeah, that's true. We're traveling creatively. Okay, we're ticking boxes.
Be wowed by nature. I think the person who wrote this article is getting a little bit tired.
I mean, if I'm eyeballing an animal, I'm likely being wowed by nature, aren't I, in some sense? Otherwise, I didn't enjoy the eyeballing very much.
How was your experience of seeing the Northern Lights? Because that's what we've got a picture of, folks. We're looking at the article now and we can see the Northern Lights in all their glory. Alan's seen them. I haven't. I'm devastated. Mate, how was it?
I saw them twice. Once I saw them very, very sustained over the course of a whole evening. and it was beautiful. And then once I saw them much, much brighter and more frantic, but only for like a 5-second display.
Wow, how incredible.
And those experiences together were really nice. Both times I was with friends and watching something really beautiful. So it was awesome.
Exceptional. Get to it. I need to do it.
Yeah, I actually travelled out. I had a car. I took all the back seats out of the car, put a bed in the back, and we just drive out into the wild wilderness and lie on the bed in the back of the camper and stick our heads out of the bay windows and look up at the aurora. It was beautiful.
Can we hear about that on another episode?
Yeah, I'll tell you more about that car.
Number 17, follow an ancient trail.
Okay, well, I'm sensing now that a lot of these are sort of combining into something quite samey.
Yeah, number 18, do something for the first time. I mean, for goodness sake.
Do something for the first time. It shouldn't be on the list, should it? Yeah, it's
Shouldn't be on the
devolved. This list's devolved into something nonsensical. Be creative. Do something for the first time. Go on a long journey. Go on a journey far away. Go on something life-changing. Please just travel.
Just go travelling.
Wanderlust.
Number 19, scare yourself.
Okay.
I've been scared.
Yourself.
I've been so scared while I've been
Was
away.
it life-changing?
It was life-threatening.
Does it mean like bungee jump and stuff like that?
I nearly got decapitated while I was on a motorbike.
That's true. Scary.
Yeah, different story. Anyway, moving on. We've got sleep under the stars. Arguably, you could also look at the Northern Lights whilst you're sleeping under the stars.
I mean, to be fair, they didn't recommend the Northern Lights specifically, did they? They just said, see something beautiful.
Yeah, well, they said wowed by nature.
Yeah, okay.
Is that nature? The Northern Lights?
Yeah. Of course it's nature. What else would it be?
Well, I don't know. I thought nature spoke to specifically sort of plants and animals and things like that.
No, space, nature,
space as well.
Natural beauty. Yeah, the Northern Lights, of course, caused by magnetism and shifting light across the poles. It's very much a natural process and it's very beautiful to behold.
Okay, I love this article. Number 21, abandon your inhibitions.
Okay, like get drunk and go to Bangkok and take your top off, that sort of thing.
Like do something that scares you.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost. Hold on a second. Abandon your inhibitions. It's almost like doing something that frightens you, isn't it?
Oh, number 22. It's getting serious.
Okay.
Save a species.
What?
I mean, they've ramped it up a level, haven't they?
Save a species?
Yeah. I'm going to read this one out in its entirety.
They can't have that. In an article, let's just remind you, it's 25 life-changing ways to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is save a species.
I mean, it's a hell of a burden, isn't it?
It's quite Darwinian.
Yeah.
All right, what do they say about it?
They say the rallying cry of many conservation organisations is that animals are worth more alive.
Animals are worth more alive?
Apparently so.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, an entire species they're talking about.
Yeah.
Prove that's true by going to see the species that need help. Your presence and pounds sterling, or dollars, can help convince local communities and governments that there is value in protecting habitats. Tourism can be a powerful force in providing the kind of incentives that may turn hardened poachers into potential tour guides and threatened landscapes into national parks.
Hold on, was this article written by AI? It's bizarre. The rallying cry of conservation efforts is animals are worth more alive. Imagine that was the way you tried to get people on board with your conservation effort. Hold on, guys, I've got a radical idea about the white rhino. It's worth more alive.
Yeah, I mean, this is a strange one to enter into this article, I think. It's obviously an incredibly complex and severe issue that maybe can't be discussed in just 2 paragraphs.
It certainly is, yeah. Complex to the max.
Number 23, travel for the greater good. What do you think about that, mate?
I think that travelling for the greater good, I think that you should always have an ethical mindset when you're traveling. I think you should always focus on the greater good. I think that traveling selfishly is a terrible blight, and that good travelers always travel for the greater good, i.e. for the happiness and joy of others in the community and in the hostel.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And when it comes to tourism as well, I mean, I'm quite guilty of wishing there were less tourists in a place that I'm in, but arguably I'm a tourist myself. So it's this strange kind of vicious cycle where I think, well, is tourism good? Is it bad? But I think if we're giving back to a destination as much as we take from it, that's a good place to start.
Okay, nice. We must be quite deep in the article now. Are we on the final bit?
We are, yeah, number 25.
Okay.
You ready for it?
Yeah, read it to me.
Hang on a minute, they skipped 24. We should address that, surely. Goes from number 23 straight to number 25.
They've skipped 24 on the article.
Yeah. Look, it's not there. I'm just for the listeners' context. I've basically gone on the article. Number 23, travel for the greater good. Agree. Number 24, it's not there, and they've gone straight to 25.
I mean, I can't believe it. People who are listening to this podcast can also go to youtube.com/Atropology Podcast to see this episode in high definition. And Adam, who's been reading from this article on what can only be described as a personal computer, has discovered that 24 is absent.
I know, it's really sloppy, actually. I mean, I'd like to think that we wouldn't make this mistake, and maybe I should have read it read it a little bit earlier than right
now. We tried
to
give this article the benefit of the doubt, didn't we?
We did. We tried to sort of let it slip, but my goodness, if it says 25, they've even mentioned that there are 25 points in the name of the fucking article.
Oh dear.
So
it's 24 points. Okay, so 24 life-changing ways to travel.
Yeah, let's retitle it. And then, and finally, oh my goodness.
Okay, what is it, Adam?
Travel more.
As opposed to travelling less.
Yeah.
Do more of it, and it will be more life-changing the more that you travel.
Yeah, I think the title of the article could just be number 25, travel more.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've adopted a fairly cynical approach, haven't we, to this whole process, this whole article. I think that basically they started out quite well, ran out of ideas around the 10 ways to travel in a life-changing way, and kind of it spiraled a bit out of control from there, didn't it?
I know, it's a big shame because it had the potential to be a fantastic article.
And we love Wanderlust, big fans.
Really big
Wanderlust.
fans, absolutely.
We think they do some really great work, but we're nothing on this podcast if not honest. And this article, I think, indicated that.
Who do you think it's aimed at? Someone who's never travelled?
Yeah, this is for people who have never travelled, 100%.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better, I suppose. But they've tried to encompass all things about travelling in quite a lazily written article, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean...
You didn't ask me.
I'd love to ask you. I mean, what I would really like to ask you, and it will be putting you on the spot here, is if you could think of like 5 really life-changing things to do whilst travel, would you be able to reel some off?
We can come up with them together, perhaps. I think we would both table working with animals.
Yeah, I think working with and being involved in the natural world, like even if that for you is going and seeing animals in their wild habitat where previously you'd only seen them in a zoo, something like that, changing your perception of the natural world by working, seeing, visiting animals in a natural environment, that's definitely life-changing, I would agree.
Yeah, I think it's also quite important to change your perception of a place by visiting it firsthand. So look, this is going to be a contentious one because sometimes there are news articles that are written or media coverage of a place and it might seem incredibly scary and dangerous. Okay,
so yeah, let's put that on the list. Go to somewhere slightly controversial, off the beaten track, somewhere like we had Wandering Earl on our podcast and he said Iraq was one of his favourite places to visit. Go somewhere like that, life-changing.
And from a personal perspective, Russia.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel very lucky to have been to Russia twice and I will not have a bad word said about the people I met.
Okay, great. We'll add that in. How about trying new foods?
Absolutely. That was going to be my next one. Yeah, absolutely. Just eat everything. And, you know, I think having an understanding that the reason you like the foods you do, okay, you could argue that it's down to flavour, but it's also down to culture. It's down to your upbringing.
Absolutely. I'd also like to table getting involved in some different philosophical or religious perspectives. That meditation retreat I did in Thailand.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I think that should be number 4. I think if you embark on those sorts of things and try and change your mind in that way and just live a little bit how other people do, I suppose, to gain their perspective, that's really, really important for your overall experience, a life-changing travel experience.
Absolutely. I've got a good one for number 5, if you'd let me have the table, or you can go if you'd prefer.
Let's do it. We might end up adding a little 6th.
Oh my God. I would like to put document your experience. Start a travel podcast, keep a travel journal, write a book, any of those things. I think document your experience in some way. It will make you a better, more thoughtful person, a more conscientious traveller, and you'll get to share your experiences on youtube.com/Tropology Podcast or on Instagram @Tropology Podcast. You'll be able to share things.
Yeah, absolutely. And can I slide a little 6 on there?
Yeah, go ahead, as long as you shout out tropologypodcast@gmail.com at the end of it. Crowbar that in.
Crowbar that bad boy in. So not to draw on 11 of the points from the article, but I think it's important to travel overland as much as you can.
Okay, yeah, travel slowly, travel overland. what Will Self said about antithetical media, try not to take jump cuts in your travel as much as possible. Take a bus ride and look out of the window, see where you're going in a visceral way. And once you've seen that thing, make sure that you email us about it at tripologypodcast@gmail.com.
I absolutely love it. It was a lot of fun being with you here today, Alan.
It was a lot of fun being with you here today, Adam. I think that, like someone who's been travelling slowly, looking out the window of a bus as they're riding free on 4 wheels, going through the Sahara, through the outback, wherever I want to go, I can see the dawn of day breaking, going silent, going nighttime around me, and I want to whisk off into a brighter and more elaborate future. Adam, will you come with me?
Of course I will, you know that.
Well, then let's go there now, then.
I'll see you there. Bye.